Hello and welcome to Armorlab. Now this is probably one of the most impressive pieces of texture creation software I've ever seen, honestly. It's got a lot of really interesting AI-based tools, and before you freak out and scream about this, it's not strictly like AI generation. Now there are solutions for like purely generating textures from AI, such as barium, but honestly those don't really produce the best results ever. So I find this to be a lot more effective, and it's got some nice benefits. One of them being that it's free and open source. So if you are insane, you can actually just go to their GitHub and compile it from source, get the app for free. They do, however, sell precompiled binaries for those of us who are actually sane. That saves a lot of the work. Now, because it's set up kind of interestingly, this app, it doesn't have an installer, so I think it's worth mentioning that to open it, what you're going to want to do is there's a zip file that contains all the data for this. This is what we call a portable app. So you're going to unzip that, you'll get a folder. You got to go into the folder, and then to actually launch it, you need to double click the executable file. On Windows, that'll be an exe. So when you click that, then the app will actually run. Now, we're in this interface. There are a couple things that are worth doing. First, we should note that this run button is what actually runs all the AI and all the processing. Not recommended to press that just whenever you feel like it because it takes a while. Just this part itself, the photo to PBR, this is what's going to actually convert your image that we're going to feed into it into all the different maps. That itself takes a lot of processing. Some other things to know: you can change the resolution of your materials here. Goes all the way up to 16K. I'd say stick to 2K for a lot of things. For this, we're going to use 4K because it's going to look a little prettier. You can also view what your material is going to look like in 3D. This is a very nice feature, but the rendering for this isn't ray traced, it is raster. So it's going to look different than it would if you were to put it into something like Maya's Arnold or Blender Cycles. So you just want to keep that in mind that your mileage may vary with how high quality this rendering is. It's probably best, it's great to use this to see, kind of get a ballpark of what you're getting, but it's not the end all be all for checking the quality of your materials. So let's get started. I have set my resolution for the output to 4K. Armorlab is what we would call node-based, much like Blender's materials. So we've got all these nodes. Let's go over them. Image texture is an image texture. You can get this by dragging and dropping an image. So if I want to add an image, you can come down here to this bottom bar, hit import underneath textures, and open your file. Now I've got this image, so I can drag it and drop it. Now we've got an image. Great. If I want to plug it in to the photo to PBR, I plug it in just like that. You can unplug as well. Some of the other notes are in Paint. I haven't played with this one too much, but what it lets you do is it lets you paint areas that you want removed. Kind of like if you ever used one of the recent Pixel phones, they got this feature called Magic Eraser where you can circle an area you want deleted and it'll replace it with an AI generated area. That should look seamless. I've had varied results with this, so I'd say avoid it if you can. Other things we got the photo to PBR right here. Text to photo, this is just straight up image generation. You can set it to be tiling. Then we've got upscaling, which will AI upscale your photos, and variance, which will add some variance. Also, haven't really messed around with this one too much. What we're really going to want to use is tiling. So, for most images, if you have them at a high enough resolution, you won't need to upscale them. So, you take the image texture, you want to plug it into tiling. Leave this auto as it is. You can uncheck it, but that creates just worse results in general. Leaving it at the auto is the best thing you can do. Then plug this all into color. And when you're ready and certain that you're not going to make your computer explode, you can hit run. And now we wait. Alright, and we're back. So that took a couple minutes, I'd say maybe 5. And you can see we've got our fully tileable material here now. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the middle. You can see here that there is some artifacting, because when you make an image tileable, as you'll probably see in Garrett's tutorial in Photoshop, if it ever comes out, you want to take the quarters of it and rearrange them, and then you blend it together. So that's what this is doing, just with some AI. So you can see here, this is the initial image result that we're putting into it. This is the AI making it tileable, and then this is the output that we get from it. Now, if we just want, we can look at this in 3D. See if we can find. That looks pretty good. It's not flawless, but it is definitely better than nothing. And yeah, look, you can see where the tiling is. Yep, looks about right. So, now you want to take this and you want to put it into your 3D software of choice. So, we're going to go to Export Textures. You can click here, let you pick your resolution, your format, and destination will happen when we click export. So I'm going to click export. I'm going to save this to downloads because I don't know, call this tree bark and save. So now in my downloads, you're going to see all of these maps are showing up. Alright, so now we're going to throw this into Blender. Alright, so we are in Blender now. I'm getting ready to put this in. This isn't the Blender tutorial, so I'm going to skip over some of the basics, but we're here in the shader editor, and I'm just going to start plugging in our textures. So if I put into the rendered view, we'll see here's our diffuse map. Let's add our normal and roughness. Make sure that you set your roughness and normal maps to be non-color. So there you can see we've already got our normal showing up really nicely. Let's add height now as well. To do that, we need to add a displacement node. Set that to non-color, plug color into height, and height into displacement. So now, one thing that you need to do in Blender always is in settings, set displacement from bump only to displacement and bump is good. And now we can set the scale of this and we can adjust the scale of the bump. We've got ourselves a pretty nice looking wood texture. Isn't that nice? Now, obviously a plane isn't exactly a tree, so let's add this to a cylinder here. And here we are, so see? That is a nice looking tree texture right there. Now, some things we can do to make it better are, we should probably add some seams for our UVs. Be a little happier. Add a seam behind the back there. Give that an unwrap. That's looking pretty good. The displacement might need a little bit of tweaking. It's always worth just changing around the scale of this a little bit. If we bring down to 0.5, that is more reasonable. Not sure why there's not enough geometry in this as well. So we're going to want to add a subdivision surface, set it to simple so you don't get horrifying artifacts. Bump this up to 4 or something obscene, and we can work from here. Now that is a lot better. So you can see that with relatively little effort, we've ended up with a material that I'd say is pretty passable. I wouldn't necessarily use this for something super up close. Maybe don't use this on a hero asset. Use something a little more intensive. Do the textures manually. You're going to get better results that way. But if this was even this far away, this looks fine. So you can see how we can create really solid textures with just really little effort using this tool. So, where can you get this? Well, since it's free and open source, you can compile it if you feel like that for some reason. You can buy it from Armor Paint, which is probably the best method. You actually get their other tool, Armor Paint, for free. It's like Substance Painter, but not as fancy. It's also cheaper, so that there's your trade-off. But yeah, I think that's going to do this for the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you need any more help, then just let me know. Adios.